This is the Real Estate Zone with John McClellan and Kevin Bown. Call them with your questions. 512-836-0590.
And good afternoon, Central Texas. This is the Real Estate Zone, our weekly radio show about Central Texas real estate. My name's John McClellan. I'm a local banker here in town. As always, joined by my friend Kevin Bown. That's Bown like town, B-O-W-N.
Hello,
14
John.
years running on the show here. We're here to talk about Central Texas real estate and all things real estate mortgage related. We have a great show. We have some incredible guests today. So we are going to be taking your calls. And I'll give you a hint what the subject's going to be. Have you got your tax bill?
If you got your tax bill.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about some new legislation. Some of it's been passed. Some of it is still pending. And we're going to be talking, another guest we have here, too, is going to talk about how some things you can do to help fight your property value, right?
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of those notices have gone out here recently.
This is one of those times of the year, John, when you get an input into the real estate market that causes people to take action often, right? So we have seasonality of the market, and there's different things that happen. But when this tax bill comes out, this is often the first news of a big financial change for the property that people own. And they go, usually they go, oh no, this means more money coming out.
Most of the time, normal people, you know, I define normal people who are not in real estate, right? They don't just think about their property taxes all the time or about real estate until they're going to buy or until their property taxes come out, right?
That's right. And for those who are in their homestead, they have some protections about how much this can go up every year, right? So 10% cap. So there's a little bit of a meant to give you a reduction of payment shock. But for the investors, and this is key, this is where we really are watching, the investors represent a huge portion of single-family, duplex, triplex, residential real estate in the Austin area. They don't have that 10% cap. So many of them are seeing bills that could be jumping 20, 30, 40%. And that goes into the equation about whether that property cash flows for them anymore. And we're really watching. We love to, as sort of interested spectators, we love to watch and see if different groups of property owners in the Austin area start to act differently. Will investors start to list and sell properties?
Well, especially the investors who bought, let's say, 2010, 11, 12, their property values have probably doubled in some areas around town, if not more. But there's a lot of equity built in. They can't touch it, right, until they sell the property, unless they want to do a refinance on it, right? But the property taxes now are affecting their cash flow. And that's what you're talking about. Maybe we'll get some more inventory, which is very much needed because of this.
That's right. So a rental house that was purchased for $150,000 and may now be worth $250,000, depending on the time frame. Those investors start to look in the mirror and say, "Would I buy this same house for $250,000, or would I rather hang on to that cash or move it into a different property or a different area?" And so this is kind of maybe one of the jump starts to the typical spring, summer selling season where we hopefully get a little bit of inventory coming into the market. That inventory is going to be met by huge demand. I'll give you a little teaser of the stats, but we're so undersupplied in this area. It's unbelievable. But
you could just record that, and we could have played it for the last 6 years.
For the last 6 years. It's gotten crazy. Right today, I pulled there's 7,016 actives. 4,717 pendings. That ratio is dropped down to 1.49 for this overall MLS. We were at 1.58 last week. So there are ready, willing, and able buyers. If these investors do decide to sell, then that demand is there to soak it up. It's the tenants in those properties that end up getting displaced into other rental properties or the apartment market. So it's always fun, again, to be an interested spectator and have a bowl of popcorn and see what happens.
That's right. Guys, phone number, if you'd like to be a part of the show, is 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. Don't forget, you can call or text 836-0590. We're monitoring the text boards, and we're also monitoring boards. We have lines open. Hey, have you got your property tax value, your bill? Has it come in, your anticipated bill? Has it come in yet this year? If you have and you want to talk about it, give us a call, 512-836-0590. In fact, we have a couple of special guests today. We have Larry Gaddis, who's the Williamson County tax assessor collector. So if you're in Williamson County or any county, give us a call if you have questions for him. We also have Sean Bukowski with Bukowski Law Firm here, and they specialize in real estate law, right? And we're going to be taking calls for both of them, and we're going to be talking, I'm sure, a lot about property taxes today and how it affects the market as a whole, and really where does it end too, right? And how far can they go up before that affordability here in the Austin area is affected? Because as a real estate investor, if I have a rental property and my property taxes go up 30% over 3 years, right, I'm going to raise the rents, which is going to affect affordability. And we've seen that happen here in the Austin area. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely one of those input costs, and it'll change the nature of whether investors are buying in that area, depending on what the tax assessments are. So this is this ever-changing landscape that we live and play in, but yeah, I think the affordability question, I want to keep it up front. There, I saw a slide in a presentation last week that had a list of people who are benefited if property values go up, and there is a list of 8 different categories of people that have a benefit of property values going up, and then the list of who is benefited by affordable housing, and there was only 2 categories. And it was making a point that there are some feedback loops in our whole system that apply incentive to property values go up. Like us in the room, if our property values go up, we go, oh, okay, well, the taxes went up, but we've got a little bit more equity for that end of life planning or whatever you're going to do.
You feel good about yourself, consumer confidence.
There's a wealth effect, yeah, but that many people perceive the support of affordable housing as something that could deteriorate the value of their own home, which is really is not true. It's not a direct correlation,
right?
So it's troubling because I'm afraid that in mass, we're seeing affordable housing get a lot of lip service, but there's not a lot of huge.
Well, it sure
support.
is a cool word to say, right? And everybody perks their ears up when you say it. So. All right, guys, you're listening to the Real Estate Zone. Don't forget, we have lines open right now, 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. Call or text to that number. Have some special guests today. We have Larry Gaddis as a Williamson County assessor collector, and Sean Bukowski from Bukowski Law Firm. So if you have questions for them or for us, give us a call, 512-836-0590. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more to come. And welcome back to the show. This is the Real Estate Zone, our weekly radio show about Central Texas real estate. Lines are open. The phone number, 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. We've got some special guests today. We have Larry Gaddis, who's the Williamson County Tax Assessor Collector. So if you have questions, even if you're in Travis County or wherever, give us a call. Larry's here to take those. And we're not going to protect him, right? We're just going to let it open. He can handle himself.
I can take care of it.
That's right. We also have Sean Bukowski with the Bukowski Law Firm. They specialize in real estate law and helping people fight their property tax value. So if you have questions for him, please feel free to call. We do have lines open, 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. Larry, I'm going to start with you. First of all, what is some new legislation that pertains to property taxes that we're seeing with the legislature, obviously, sessions in right now?
Yeah, so there's hundreds of bills that have been filed pertaining to property taxes, most of them trying to find ways to cut people's property tax bill. The 2 big ones have been House Bill 2 and Senate Bill 2, and then there's House Bill 3. And House Bill and Senate Bill 2 deal with property tax reform. And there's some restrictions on local governments on how much they can raise their tax rates from one year to the next to help slow the growth in tax bills. And then it also deals with some transparency issues where they're trying to educate homeowners or property owners on what they can do to have an impact on their tax bill, and shedding a little bit more light on the tax rate side of how those taxing units, those cities, counties, schools, emergency service districts, and folks, how they are, how they can have some influence when they're adopting those tax rates. And then HB 3 is the school funding bill. And if you've not heard it, what it means when it says you can lower property taxes if you fund the schools properly. That's kind of been a bumper sticker tagline that's been out there. And what that's been saying is the state used to fund back in 05-06, if you just took a snapshot then, 50% of a school's budget got its revenue from the state, and the other 50% of the budget was paid for by local property taxes. Today, 63% of that school budget is funded by local property taxes, and the state's only paying 37%. So it's shifted the burden of school funding to property owners, so they're paying a lot more now than they did 10, 15 years ago. And HB 3 tries to fix that issue by putting about $6.4 billion into the school systems of state revenue. And they're saying that's going to lower your property tax bills. And
so what does that per child, do you think, work out to?
So it actually, so I think it's, and I'm maybe a little off on my numbers here, but I think it's $5,600 or $5,700 per child, and they want to bump that up to about $6,100 or $6,200 per child that the state is contributing to each school district. So,
gotcha. All right, guys, phone lines 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. We got Larry Gaddis, Williamson County Tax Collector Assessor. Let's go to our phone lines. We got Tim in Elgin. Hey, Tim, thanks for calling. You had a question for us.
Yes, sir. I was just asking, if this, I moved from Round Rock out to outside of Elgin in 2015, in January 2015. And I paid $300,000 for the house. It's 2.5 acres and 2,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms. And now, last year they said it was $399,000 worth, and now the proposed is $439,230. I mean, they're going up $40,000 in 1 year, and they've been doing that for quite some time. As you see, I went from $300,000 in 2015 to $439 now.
Yeah, Larry, any thoughts on?
I know values are rising and increasing. I'm not familiar with the Elgin area, but
I don't think we have Sean's mic on. Sean, why don't you try the other one? Let's see. You tried that one right there, maybe. But that works better.
Each property is specific, and it's hard to talk about your specific property. I will say this: that land, you said you had 2 acres of your property. Land,
2.5 acres.
Yeah, 2.5 acres. Land is a precious commodity in and around the Austin area, and that expense that not only drives up the expenses for home builders, but is one of the commodities when you're buying a home. That land is extremely valuable, and if something's going to appreciate, that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So, have you put your homestead exemption on the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I have a homestead exemption, and I have 10% military.
Okay. So when you look at your bill, remember the value's going up, but with that homestead exemption over there, there's a cap on what the amount of your property. Well, there's a cap. It reduces the value by a certain percentage with the homestead exemption on there, right? So if you have your proposed tax bill in front of you, you may notice that there's going to be one with exemptions and without exemptions, and that's be the one you're paying. So how much did your tax bill go up dollar-wise year over year?
Last year it was just under, I think it was right around 9,000, and now it's 9,701.16.
Yeah.
Is that the estimated tax? So if you got a sheet of paper, that's the estimated taxes, because so everybody's getting their notice of appraised value here in April, and that's what you're looking at. Hopefully what happens is, and that estimated tax is based on your current value for 2019 and the tax rates that your taxing jurisdictions adopted back in 2018. So they won't actually adopt tax rates until the August and September timeframe, the folks that tax your property there in Elgin. So what's going to happen is hopefully those jurisdictions are able to lower their tax rate, and you're going to pay less than the estimate that's on your appraisal notice there. I can't. That doesn't always happen.
And here, I've got some better advice for you, Tim. Do you like goats or cows or maybe some sheep?
That's the thing. I've asked about that, the ag exemption. And I've been told that you have to have at least 10 acres.
That's true.
Yeah. So true. It's actually not a minimum number of acreage unless you're in a city, in a municipal in city limits. Then there is an actual minimum. It's just how much acreage would it take to actually produce and raise animals for sale or for crops or whatever the case.
And don't forget, when you go in to protest your taxes, to make sure you're protesting on an equal and uniform basis. Also, that's something under the Texas Constitution.
And define what that means for.
So taxes have to to be equal and uniform, meaning a similarly situated property has to be taxed at the same rate as other similarly situated properties. And that can be a big help when you're going in to protest your taxes.
And that was a little bit hard for me the last time I tried to a couple of years ago. It's hard to find something really similar to mine in the area because we live outside of Elgin. I don't know if you know, off of 1704.
Yep.
And, there's just either much larger properties or much smaller properties. Right. And with the house size.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Tim, we appreciate the phone call. Good luck on those taxes next year. It's they are going up. And
it's
that's
a rising
good
market,
for him,
right?
though. It's good for him. So let me ask you a question. When it comes to, obviously, the land value is what's appreciated on the property. But I see a lot of tax bills where the sticks and bricks are also going up in value, too. And how do they justify a depreciating asset being worth more?
So good question, and I hear that one often. And again, and I'll clarify for the listeners. I'm the tax assessor collector. I don't set values, and
right.
I have some experience at the appraisal district and just in the relationship that my office has with the appraisal district. And I do want to say you cannot protest your taxes. It is impossible to protest your taxes.
Just the value.
You can protest your value, but you can't protest your taxes. So I do the way the appraisal district works is they have a cost model. So they determine the value of the property based on some cost models and how much it costs per square foot to build a home. They determine they've got the characteristics of that home, how much square footage in the main living area, garage, porch, and things like that. So they build this model that says here's a value for the home. They then adjust that value up or down based on sales in that neighborhood, sales of homes in that neighborhood. So they determine a value via cost, and then they set the value or defend the value with market sales. And then so what they try to do is get values of all the homes. And again, remember, this is mass appraisal. So in Williamson County, they're literally valuing hundreds of thousands of homes based on the sales of maybe tens of thousands of sales. And they try to make sure there aren't any outliers, and they move the values up and down to try to get your home the closest value on your property to.
Will they share with you the comparables that they use?
They have to share that.
Yeah.
They have to. And the strange thing about Texas law is sales prices, it's a non-disclosure state, so you don't have access to those in public. And you have to protest the value of your property in order to get those sales.
Gotcha.
And that's unfortunate.
And you can sometimes do that online. I think Travis County has that
Williamson
online.
County too.
Williamson County too. Guys, you're listening to the Real Estate Zone. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're taking your calls. We have lines open, 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. 0590. We have Larry Gaddis, that's a Williamson County tax collector assessor. We also have Sean Bukowski with the Bukowski Law Firm, who specializes in helping people with their property tax value. And that right, Larry? And Kevin, I guess we're just going to sit back and let these guys talk.
I've got a good question for Larry.
All right, well, after the break, guys, we do have lines open, 836-0590. This is your chance to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to property taxes. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show. This is the Real Estate Zone. The phone number, if you'd like to be a part of the show, is 512-836-0590. That's 512-836-0590. Questions, comments, we'd love to hear from you. We've got a couple of guests here today. We've got Sean Bukowski with the Bukowski Law Firm, and they specialize in residential and commercial real estate. And they also help people protesting their taxable value on their property. Also have Larry Gaddis, who's a Williamson County tax collector assessor, with us today, answering your questions. We have lines open, 836-0590. Don't forget you can call or text to that number. If you got your property tax value, bill, whatever it is that's coming in, right? Notice, okay.
Notice, yeah.
We have to be very formal with Larry.
I'm hypersensitive. I apologize.
Yeah, that's
about
okay.
that. Semantics.
If you got that letter in the mail and you have questions, you want to know what's going on with it, give us a call, 512-836-0590. If you're in Williamson County, this is the guy you want to talk to anyway. I just pointed and we're on the radio, so maybe that's why I said something about it.
Need a special noise for pointing.
Yeah, let's go to Susan, who's been patiently holding. Hey, Susan, thanks for calling. You had a question for us.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted, my husband and I live out in the country between Page and Bastrop, excuse me. Anyway, I inherited this property from my brother, and the taxes were pretty high, and so we checked around. We got the environmental protection, where it's pretty simple. You have to have feeders, like deer, birds, and 6 bluebird
so it
houses.
sounds like it's the wildlife exemption that's pretty common around
That's
Travis
it.
County, Bastrop. We see that a lot. And that's
It's
a
really
good one to
good.
have. It's very similar to an agriculture exemption. In fact, it's a type of one.
So that's lowered the tax bill on that property quite a bit?
Yeah, they said it's going to be about 80 or 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait till they send it. But it's pretty simple to do, and we were doing most of it anyway.
And if you go to, and I'm not sure about the Travis Central Appraisal District website, but I think if you maybe Google the Comptroller's office webpage or the Williamson Central Appraisal website, WCAD.org, they probably have a lot of really good information on those on those exemptions, including wildlife is kind of an offshoot of the agricultural exemption of if you're planting corn or raising cows and stuff like that. There's also a lot of people don't know if you raise honeybees. You can have an exemption for having
warbler.
For honeybees on your property. So you have to be producing honey and doing all of that stuff. But that is one
your
way.
Your golden retriever doesn't count, Joe.
Horses are a lot of folks that would like to see that for horses and things like that. Those usually don't qualify. But honeybees is one of the newer ones that have been added recently.
Gotcha. Guys, 512-836-0590. If you want to be a part of the show, let's go to Jack in Lakeway. Hey, Jack, thanks for calling. You had a question for us.
Yes. Earlier, you had a gentleman talking about 2 factors in appraisals. One, as I understood it, cost to construct a similar home today. And number 2, recent sales of like properties in the neighborhood.
That's Larry Gaddis. Right? Yeah, that's Larry Gaddis, who's the Williamson County tax assessor collector.
Okay, on the first one, obviously cost to construction is going up. There's no question about that. So that's a given. Am I correct on that?
I would say so, yes, and definitely in this area.
Yeah.
Okay. Second thing, like properties that have sold in their general area. I'm in a home that I bought new 32 years ago, and homes around me, about 4 out of the 6 or 7 closest to me that would be similar, have sold in the last 2 years after many years of same people living there.
Mm-hmm.
In order to sell these homes, most of my neighbors that sold went in and did substantial remodeling and redecorating, bathrooms, kitchens, countertops, etc. My home is just essentially as I bought it 32 years ago.
But so you're being affected by their values, even though yours is not fixed up.
That's my question.
And this is exactly we were actually talking about this off air, and this is one of the conundrums, and I think this is probably the one thing that frustrates people the most. That I live in my home and I've done nothing to it to improve the insert. I've not replaced the carpet or I've not put in wood floors. I don't have the granite countertops or the remodeled kitchen. And the homes that are selling around me, all of that's been done to those homes, and they're maxing out the value of their home, and I'm being taxed at that value. And I would say that is the most frustrating thing that I hear from taxpayers about that particular scenario. And
is there anything we can do about
this? Sorry.
How can you protest?
This is what
we've also got Sean. We've got Sean Bukowski's with the Bukowski Law Firm, and they specialize in this. Sean's a little bit of advice for our caller here, Jack.
You really want to be prepared when you go in for your protest, and so if you can talk to your neighbors, or if you have the relationship with them, or talk to contractors and get an estimate of how much those repairs would cost, and then you can use that to offset some of, or at least argue for an offset for what they're currently appraising your house at, because to get to the market value of what those houses sold at, they would have had to put in $30,000-$40,000, and so you can ask for them to reduce the value of your house by that amount, but you need to have evidence of how much.
Well, could they use like a residential appraiser to go out there and use the comparable sales and note the lack of everything in the kitchen being fixed up, and compare it to those comparable sales that are obviously listed in the MLS, which you can use.
Yeah, absolutely. You can,
and they'll make those adjustments on that appraisal.
Yeah.
So that go ahead, Jack.
One more question. Let's say that a person does a fairly extensive remodeling, 3 bathrooms, kitchen, etc., and has to get a building permit. No matter where he lives, he has to get a building permit. And does that information get into the appraisal district so that they know that has been done?
Most of the jurisdictions around here that require a building permit do release that information to the appraisal district. I will tell you though, depending on what's being done, it may or may not have an effect on the property. If you're getting a building permit to install a pool, that's something that the appraisal district is going to be interested in, so they can add the value of the pool to it. I don't know how much.
If you're adding 1,000 square feet to your house, they're probably going to be interested.
They're going to be interested in that. I'm not sure how much information they use. If it just remodel inside, and they can't value your home based on what's inside the house because they can't get inside your house, and they don't want to get inside of your house. But so they really have to. Again, it's called mass appraisal, and they're painting with a pretty broad brush there. But back to what Mr. Bukowski was saying, really taking the sales that they do use to value your property, get a realtor and have them print out the pictures that are in MLS of the interior of that home. Take pictures of the interior of your home so you can show the contrasting difference between what those homes are selling for, and be able to put some numbers to that.
Right, Jack, we appreciate you listening to the show. And by the way, Sean, do you have a website you could go to if you want some advice?
Sure, it's the easiest one is propertytaxesintexas.com.
Propertytaxesintexas.com, and Sean can give you some good advice out there. Let's go to Don. Hey, Don, thanks for calling. You had a question for us.
Hey, yeah, first-time caller, avid listener. I appreciate your show.
Sure.
So my family and I were looking to sell our house in Oak Hill. It's been estimated about $475,000, and we want to move about an hour outside, drop a pin right in the middle of Austin, and then an hour from there any direction. And we're looking for about 100 to 200 acres, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are as far as where the best growth is going to be happening.
Well, yeah, so you're probably thinking out towards Marble Falls area, Johnson City, maybe somewhere down to Blanco, right? If that's going to be about an hour out. I will tell you the land out there is extremely expensive. And because that is where a lot of the growth is headed, you not only do you have Austin influencing that area, you also have San Antonio, if you can imagine that, actually influencing that 281 corridor. Kevin,
you hit the nail on the head. A lot of our ranch buyers, when we get out and looking at bigger parcels like that, heading out southwest of Austin, we start bumping into other buyers that are coming out of the San Antonio market that are doing the same thing. So there is some overlap there where Austin's what we call the preferred quarter basically points directly west, and in San Antonio it points kind of northwest. And so those preferred areas start to have some overlap when you do get to that hour out.
Yeah. You might even want to consider maybe even a little bit north of that, maybe up towards the Goldthwaite area. I think the land's probably going to be marginally less expensive up there, and it's still nice, big rolling hills and beautiful area. If you're probably talking, what do you think, Kevin? 15,000 an acre minimum. It's in areas like that, depending on if you have water, depending if you get your mineral rights.
There's a lot to consider. The water is really important to look at because there's different aquifers as you move around, and some are considered to have good water, some are considered to not have very good water. So that's one of the due diligence things to look at, and it can drive the value of the land significantly.
Right. So, I would recommend getting a good professional on your team to look for that. Kevin obviously does that for a living. If you want to ever get a hold of him at 12riversrealty.com or just go to our website at austinrealestatedaily.com. But I think it's a great idea. I'd love to have me a little 100 or 200 acre ranch, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure you got, mineral rights are going to be a big deal. Make sure you bring it up. See if you can get them. It'll cost you money, but it may make you money in the future. And the water is going to be probably the most important thing, especially moving on into the future as this Texas triangle that we live in and our population continues as it has been to grow. Water is going to become a high commodity.
Yes.
High commodity. Don, thanks for calling the show. We appreciate it. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're taking more of your calls, 512-836-0590. Sean, I know you're holding there. We'll be right to you after the break. And welcome back to the show. This is the Real Estate Zone. Thank you very much. I was about to say this is the property tax show, what it becomes every April, every year for the last 14 years.
This is going to end up on video, right?
Yeah, we're actually streaming this. Well, we're not streaming it right now, but we'll have it up on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel, so you can check it out. We quickly need to get to some of our callers. Let's go to Sean, who's been really, really patient. Sean, thanks for calling the show. You had a question for us?
Yeah, thanks. I had a quick little story and a question. My wife came home the other day and saw a man peering in our windows. And she didn't know who it was, but he was sitting there looking in the windows for a while. My son had just come home from school and was riding his bike around the front yard. My wife frankly got my son in the car to get away because she didn't know who this guy was. And she came back.
Has he not heard of the castle doctrine?
Yeah. Right. And she realized, this is an HCAD, Houston County Appraisal District assessor looking in the window. She said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm measuring your house." And she said, "No, you're not measuring. You're looking in my house." And he said, "No, I'm measuring." I said, "No, you haven't measured yet." Anyway, we just did some renovations last year. And
they're doing a site check?
Yeah. And so I guess he was doing a site check, but, kind of freaked my wife out.
Did he have the proper documentation? And
I mean,
yeah, Larry, do they actually send people out to do these checks?
So so each appraisal district, and each county has an appraisal district that values property in that county. And you said you're in Houston County?
Yes, Houston.
So that's a smaller county. They may not have,
Harris.
No,
Harris County. Okay, you're in Harris County. The Williamson Appraisal District, they have big magnetic signs that they put on the sides of their vehicles. They wear badges so that they can identify themselves and have some credentials with people. Not every appraisal district does that. I think it's a good practice and they should do it. But yeah, they shouldn't be. If it was an interior remodel, there's nothing they should be worried about on the inside of that house because
they should not be
they should not be looking in your windows. There's no reason for them to do that. So,
that's the question I had.
Yeah.
So the question I had was, I expect our appraised value to go up beyond the 10% cap, and I'm wondering is just we didn't add anything to the house, we didn't change the square footage, we didn't add a pool. But we've had to do this. It's a 60-year-old house, and it needed a lot of things done. I'm wondering, can you argue that we still are subject to that 10% cap for doing those kinds of renovations?
That you're still, absolutely, yeah, you'll still be subject to that. They
can raise the value, but their dollar amount is what capped.
Right? Yeah, your value is your taxable value is what's capped. So your market value can go up 50%, but you're only going to get taxed on a 10% increase. But I would be surprised if they made any adjustments. I would hope that your value would increase just based on the increase in the market in your area right there. They shouldn't be looking inside or doing anything. If you didn't, enclose a garage or add a porch on the back or anything like that, there shouldn't be any material addition to that property characteristic.
Hey, Sean, thanks for calling. We got to go. Interesting question. They should never be. Nobody should ever be peering in your window. This is the state of Texas. That person,
correct,
is not going to have that job or his life very long. Let's go to Charlie in Central Austin. Hey, Charlie, thanks for calling. You had a question for us.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for doing this program. It's very helpful. I really appreciate it. I'm turning 65 in May. I'm married. My wife, the title is in her name, and we live in Travis County, Central Austin. And I'm wondering how that might impact the tax liabilities.
Who did you say was turning 65?
I am.
You are, and you said you are not on and showing as an owner on the property.
Correct.
That's correct. So I'm going to kick this one over to Sean. And yes, you do have to be an owner on that property in order to qualify for that exemption. I would encourage you to get your name on that deed, and I'll let Sean talk about some.
What you want to do is get an updated deed recorded with the county that has your name as one of the owners. Now, one thing you have to be a little careful on is if you have a mortgage on the property, your lender might have some restrictions on transferring the property. They're probably going to be okay with that.
Yeah, if you add somebody to title, they're typically okay with it. It's when you take a bunch of people off. That's where it seems to be where the major program is. But your deed of trust, if you do have a mortgage on there here in the state of Texas, it does have a due on sale clause for adding or subtracting people, but I would feel comfortable to say that it's probably not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you reach out to them, they're probably going to, right?
Yeah, they want somebody else to be liable.
Right, exactly. Yeah, communication. Yeah.
So, and how do they add somebody to a deed?
You probably, if you just have the deed or get a deed recorded, drafted by somebody that has your your wife transferring it to you and the wife.
That's something your law firm does.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And then you record that deed with the county.
Yeah. The county clerk's office. File it with the county clerk's office.
Yeah, then you'll be able to put that to over 65 and then a couple of your different taxes.
You can save upwards of, if you already have a homestead on your property, which you'll need, you can save an additional anywhere probably between $300 to $500 or $600 additional savings above and beyond the savings that your homestead gives you.
Yeah. And then if y'all ever sold that house, you can actually take your over 65 percentage that you have. Let's say that you freeze them this year, then the next 10 years it goes up, 50%. You can take that percentage savings to the next house too, if you're staying within the same county, right?
And if you're staying in the same thing, you can take your school district taxes percentage. You can transfer to any school district in the state, but you'll want to make sure that it gets filed, and you might have to take a copy of the deed with you if it's a lengthy process once you file it with the county clerk before it gets to the appraisal district, so that they see that your name is on that property. You might want to just walk in with a copy of that.
And one of the things, too, like a homestead exemption, you have to live in the house as of January 1st, right?
Correct.
To be able to file the homestead exemption. Correct. For an over 65, it actually starts on the day you file.
It starts
right?
in the year that you turn 65. It'll be effective that year, so you don't have to wait until the following year.
So something you definitely want to do, and the Bukowski Law Firm can take care of that for you. All right, guys, let's go to Mike. Mike, thanks for calling the show. You had a question for us.
Well, actually, you stole my thunder. I had a question about if you turn 65 anytime during the calendar year, maybe after the assessment came out, but before the actual taxes were done, could you get the
even if you turn 65 on December 31st of 2019, you'll be able to file for your over 65 exemption, and it'll be effective for your for all of 2015. It's not prorated or anything like that. It'll be effective for 2019, and we'll just recalculate your tax bill to reflect what that new exemption and that new tax amount, and you will save money, and it will freeze specifically the taxes that you're paying to the school district. So that's the big benefit to that exemption.
Right. Mike, thanks for calling the show. We appreciate it. So what are the different taxing authorities that are affected by the over 65?
So the school district is mandatory by the state. The state allows counties, cities, and junior colleges to freeze their taxes for over 65 and disabled persons if they choose to. For example, in Williamson County, we have 16 cities, and I believe 6 or 7 of them have chosen or taken the option to freeze their taxes for the residents that live in those cities if they have an over 65 or disabled persons exemption. So it depends on where you live. Location. It's true in real estate and in property taxes,
right? Well,
because it has a big impact on your tax bill.
Well, heck, there's some areas around town that have like a 1.78 total tax rate, especially out
and
west
some
of
that have over $3 per $100 in value in Williamson County. So it's a big swing on it. You pay attention to that when you're buying
about the price of the house.
When you're buying a home, look
at
that, research that. That can be impact your financial outlook as well.
All right, Sean, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
If somebody needs help with their property, if they want to fight their property values, what's the website you have to go to?
PropertyTaxesInTexas.com.
All right. And Larry, thanks again for being on the show.
We love talking about this subject. I know it's a little weird for people,
fun.
But enjoy the heck out of it.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much, guys.
Kevin, any last thoughts about what's for the market and what's happening?
No, I just want to. We might lock the door so we can continue to ask these guys questions. It's such a good hour. So.
Carl may not like that.
Carl's
coming in next, though.
Yeah.
But a great show, guys. Appreciate it. I'd like to have you guys on again sometime. We can talk about this. It is a big subject that affects everybody here in Texas. We didn't really get to a lot of the legislative stuff. We touched on it, but Kevin, stats going phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
the
tight.
Market's good.
Yep, market's good. Market's hot. Interest rates staying about the same.
All right, guys, you've been listening to the Real Estate Zone for the whole crew here. We'll see you next week.